This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Dreamcast Junkyard DreamPod, the world's greatest podcast called DreamPod. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, my friend. This is the world's greatest podcast.
You will note by the fluid and super smooth transition there between myself and Rob and Mike that we are, for the first time ever, all in the same location as we record the podcast, which is it's a new territory for us. It's all good. But we don't have to rely on the Victorian cables running under this fair island, or indeed the Victorian cables running under the sea towards Ross and our other co-hosts around the world, because we're all here in sunny Bristol. We found ourselves a nice little alcove down by the river, in the shadow of the SS Great Britain, and hopefully Brunel's spirit will guide us and give us some. I
feel like we should be wearing top hats.
Yes.
Like Brunel. Brunel would approve of top hats and massive cigars.
Oh yeah, always massive cigars. Yeah, even though I'm not a smoker, I can always get behind a massive cigar. Exactly. Anyway, as you've just heard, my name is Tom. I'm joined here by Mr. Rob Jones.
Hello.
And Mike Phelan.
Hello.
Guys, let's jump in and talk. About what we always talk about first. I'm just going to say again, it's really nice and sunny here today, and it's fantastic. It's great being outdoors and doing a podcast. Brilliant. What have we picked up? What have we played recently? Mike, I'll come to you first. What have you been playing?
So on Dreamcast, I've been playing some random games. I've been playing some indie games recently. So I've been playing through some of the ones that haven't gone for much. Rush Rally Reloaded.
Oh yeah, nice.
Which is
was that the re-release version?
The re-released version, yeah, the enhanced version of the original. Got to be honest, can't tell a massive amount of difference.
Oh, have you got the original one as well?
I have. Yeah. So there's not a huge amount of difference, but it's a great game anyway.
Yeah.
And we've been playing through some of the shmups as well, some of the older ones. We've been playing through Ducks again, and Fast Striker.
Nice.
In terms of pickups, I've picked up a couple of extra ones out of my collection. I've picked up Secure Awards 4 Limited Edition. It's the one with loads of medallions.
Yeah.
It's quite cheap. And a couple of other table-based Japanese games. And in modern gen stuff, I've been playing... what have I been playing on modern day? I've been playing... Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh yeah,
that's what I've been playing. That's how much of an impact it's made on my head.
PS4 or
PS4.
Yeah.
PS4. Yeah. So it's.
Have you found that all right?
It's good. It's good. It's not as bad as people make out to be. I think people just literally looked at the animation and gone, the game's terrible.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Mass Effect, like 1 through 3. I thought they were great games.
Yeah, I love Mass Effect.
Yeah.
It's not as good.
Yeah.
And there are some really weird. The map is really unfocused, so you just don't know what you're doing half the time, which I find a bit of a problem. I also find it quite interesting that EA sent out a request for people who've obviously played the game to feedback what they think about it. I've never had that from a games publisher.
Oh, so they want to know how you feel.
5 days after I bought it,
feels,
they sent an email out to everyone saying to reply. It was weird. Never seen that before.
Interesting.
So apart from that, really, I'm playing a huge amount more.
I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast before. My overriding memory of Mass Effect is that I tried to make my Commander Shepard look like me and ended up looking like Barack Obama. So when I think back about Commander Shepard, I just think Barack Obama for some reason. So I suppose he was Commander-in-Chief in some ways. Not my Commander-in-Chief, obviously, but yeah. Rob, what about you? What have you been playing on the Dreamcast or otherwise?
I'll start with the Dreamcast. I've been playing a bit of Mars Matrix, which we've spoken about before. Top quality game. Really about the those shmups. So back on Ikaruga, back on Mars Matrix, and I played a bit of Virtua Tennis 2, which I absolutely love. I'm sorry, I can't say that I'm a massive Super Tennis games fan. I'm not an expert in any regard, but I just think they absolutely nailed the arcade tennis action with Virtua Tennis 2 in particular. The pick up and play nature of that game is superb. Everyone understands there's few buttons to use with the different shots, and it's just amazingly fluid despite the limitations. If you look back now, it doesn't look the best. It's got a really arcadey nature, but I don't know, like they got licensed players and playing as some greats like Tim Hedman. Come on,
Oh, yeah.
come on, Tim.
Hedman Hill.
Hedman Hill, I'm there shouting, come on, Tim, as he goes out again in the quarterfinals. But
Topical.
But yeah, I love picking up that game. It's great, and yeah, I can't really say much more about it. Like, just to have a quick blast. Virtual Tennis 2 is one of my faves.
It's funny, after you've got like very au fait with Virtual Tennis and you've played it for quite some time, if you try and pick up any other tennis game and play it like you play Virtual Tennis, it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I tried playing Super Tennis after I'd played Virtual Tennis, and it was just like, what do you mean I have to hit the ball as it comes to where my racket is? Why can't I just hit the button as the ball comes over the net? And
There were better tennis games. Topspin on the Xbox.
Topspin was
an amazing game.
It was, yeah.
But it just didn't have the appeal of Virtual Tennis.
yeah.
No, there's
They
something
nailed it with
yeah.
Virtual Tennis 2, as Rob said. They nailed it with the second one.
Do you remember a game called? Sorry, Rob. Do you remember a game called Breakpoint on the Saturn and PlayStation?
No, I don't. Sorry.
I have like very bad memories of that because it was just an horrific game. The only thing that I remember being good about it was the fact that you could play it in first person mode. I know you can do that on Virtual Tennis if you change the view, but I was just kind of really like blown away by the fact you could play tennis in first person. It was terrible, but that just sticks with me for some reason. Anyway,
It's the second best tennis game ever made.
What's
I'll
that?
put my hand out.
What, Virtual Tennis?
First two, yeah. Best Davis Cup World Tennis on Mega Drive. I will defend that game.
Well, it's Pete Sampras.
I will defend. No, Pete Sampras was Codemasters, but no. Which is the only thing I remember about Pete Sampras was the fact you could hit Dizzy as he walked over the net if you got a certain points in the game.
Oh, and you had four-way play as well
Yeah,
with
four-way
the.
play with J-Kart, yeah. But no, Davis Cup World Tennis. It's a port of the PC Engine or TurboGrafx game. TurboGrafx was terrible. It just didn't work. On Mega Drive, amazing game. I got so good at that game, I think I actually lost a single point for the last several years I had it. Love it.
That's quite the claim. Quite the claim.
There you go.
Moving off Dreamcast, I've got to share Mike's what he's been playing, and the fact that I've been playing Mass Effect Andromeda as well. And I don't know, like, I've got to say that, I mean, yes, the game is better than the animation glitches people have really cottoned onto, and I think quite unfairly.
Yeah.
Like, I'll stick my neck out here, and I think people will be quite.
I'd just like to say at this point, there's a train going past behind us, so if you can hear that in the background, we apologise, but we can't do anything about it.
All I will say is it's a train without tracks, which appears to be from the 19th century. So,
Quite in fitting
not
with
sure what's going on.
quite in fitting with the Kingdom Brunel comments from earlier on. Sorry, Rob. Please continue.
Exactly, my top hat is back on. Yes, look, people have quite unfairly, I think, jumped on these animation issues. I'm not saying the animation issues are a moot point. They're far from it. Like, they break the immersion, and it's a real shame because the team behind it have put a hell of a lot of good work into that game. Like, it is an order of magnitude bigger than any of the Mass Effect games that came before it. However, despite there's a lot of great things about that game, it looks right, there's a massive content dump, but the key things that made the original Mass Effect games aren't there. And number one for me is the writing. People don't sound right. The writing is poor. Like, I'm tired of alien species having talking and using, and I'm not sticking it to Americans here at all, but a lot of them sort of American phrases like "I guess." Like, it breaks my immersion because the first time I've met this new alien race in Andromeda, we've gone through this amazing setup. Like, they deal with it really well, how like these humans had to spend all these years in stasis to get to this really far-flung destination, and it's really quite epic in scale. That's the one thing they get really right, is the scale and how sort of daunting it was for these people to get on a ship and basically go into stasis and
another star system.
A star system miles away. They didn't know what would happen if they'd ever make it, and they nail that. But then you get there, and you're met with sort of relatively bland new alien species, which all speak like Americans would do, American humans.
Yeah.
And it just broke the immersion for me. The other thing I would say is that the Andromeda, it seems to me, I've described this to my wife in this way. How I describe the new Andromeda game is like the Star Wars prequels. There's loads of good stuff. Now look, maybe I'm being too harsh. Okay, I will defend the prequels. I mean, this is a conversation for another day, for a film podcast. I can defend those prequels quite well. There's lots of things in those prequels which I really like, that I felt that they moved on Star Wars in really good ways. Obviously, there's all the bad stuff, and I don't want to get into that. But it's like that. Like the original Mass Effect games were gritty, they were adult. They were full of violence and sex and hard decisions, moral and ethical choices that you had to make. And this new game doesn't feel gritty. It doesn't feel adult. It feels like a game for 13-year-olds. Everything is very bright and crisp and clean. No one swears. There's no violence. There's been very few, from what I've played so far, and I think I've played almost 20 hours, there's been very few important decisions for me to make. And it just feels a softer, younger, more casual Mass Effect game, and for that reason alone I'm not really enjoying myself. I've got quite bored with it. As Mike said, it's very unfocused as well, because they've got the scale in that there's loads of these planets and you've got total freedom to go where you want and do what you want, and there's just missions coming out of everywhere. But again, one of the great things about the original trilogy was how focused it was. There was side missions, there were ally missions that you could optionally do, and it would give you a better outcome. But you were always forced through like a funnel. The core narrative was always very tight, and you understood what you were doing and where you were going. And Mass Effect Andromeda doesn't have that.
Wow, that is quite the description of why you have umbrage. You take umbrage with the new Mass Effect, even though you've obviously said it's still quite a good game. Cool. Okay. Well, I'll kind of try and follow that somehow. Not sure how well I'll do, but playing wise on the Dreamcast, I have been playing Alice Dreams Tournament, which is the new Kickstarter funded game from the guys over at Alice Dreams. I think they're called Alice Dreams. I don't know if they've got an actual name for their studio other than Alice Dreams. Yeah. We will talk about that in a little bit, or rather, I will talk about it in a little bit because you guys haven't actually played it. But on the Dreamcast, apart from that, I've been playing Gundam Side Story 007. Was it 0079?
79.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying it. I like it. I like the fact that the mechs that you play as, the Gundams that you control have got quite a lot of weight to them. I like the ranged combat. I like the up close combat as well with the lightsabers that you've got. And I just love how destructible the environments are. It's like you can just basically destroy anything. Obviously there's an emphasis on not doing that because it's meant to be civilians in these buildings and you're meant to be protecting them in some cases. But firing off rounds into buildings and watching them explode around you is quite addictive. So don't let me get in a Gundam in reality, because at least not in your neighbourhood.
Collateral damage.
On the other consoles, the only game I've really been playing a lot of, there's two games I've been playing quite a lot of, and they're both on the PS Vita. One of which is called Severed, which is a first-person RPG where you use your finger on the screen, the touch screen, to basically attack enemies. So enemies come up to you and you have to swipe to the screen, because you've got a sword. And the other one I've been playing is called Hard-Boiled, what's it called? Rocket Birds 2, which is obviously the sequel to the original Rocket Birds. It's kind of like, it's a run-and-gun shooter, a bit like Gunstar Heroes, but obviously with more detailed graphics, and it's a lot of fun. Love it. On this subject, though, this last couple of weeks I've actually been selling a lot of my collection off, just because I've been hankering after getting a new motorbike, which I've now bought. And because of that, I've been basically putting a lot of my stuff on eBay and on other sales sites, and I've actually got rid of quite a lot of it. I did think I would regret selling a lot of it off, but to be honest, it's been actually quite cathartic, and it's been good getting a lot of my space back and stuff, in my spare room and things. I know we were talking about this the other day, Rob, on Facebook, but I think over the last couple of years, all I've been doing is basically trolling eBay and whatnot and buying stuff that I had when I was a kid or that I'd never played before. I'd get it in the post and I'd play it for 10 minutes and I'd never play it. I'd put it on a shelf and it'd just be on a shelf. So I was like, why am I doing this? I could get something that I actually want, i.e. this motorcycle. And so that's what I've been doing. So not a lot of pickups really in that sense. But okay, right, that's what we've been playing. We'll be back in a second, and enjoy this music. Okay, hello, welcome back. You're listening to episode 49 of the Dreamcast Junkyard Dream Pod. We are live in Bristol, no less, a city I liken very much to Novigrad from The Witcher 3.
Fair comparison.
If that's the case, I want directions to Passiflora ASAP.
I can tell you where they can get places like that. But I'm not quite sure it'll be quite the same atmosphere.
I think that the Dream Pod would get R-rated very quickly if that was the case.
But yeah, so I was just talking about, before we had a little break, I was talking about getting rid of some of my collection because I've just kind of not fallen out of love with retro, but I just had an abundance of stuff that I was never playing, and I saw a monetary value in it and thought I would get some use out of it. Rob, you wanted to talk a little bit about this. You had some strong feelings about this.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we've been talking about this on Facebook for a fair few months now. I mean, even last year, really. I feel that the tide has turned, for me personally, and now for yourself to a degree, in the fact that a lot of, I found, as I wrote a piece for the Dream Pod about how I was becoming more of a collector rather than a gamer.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I meant that I owned games. I was buying, very rarely I was buying new games because retro gaming had been the prices have gone through the roof. But the games I had in my collection, where once I would play quite regularly, I mean literally every year, I wasn't touching anymore. And I had such a plethora of games and consoles, and many of them I'd had amazing experiences with in the past. And I've written about this on the Junkyard. Horrible plug here, but I even wrote about it in my book. And I feel that now it's almost pointless for me to have them. Like, what I enjoy most is doing this, is talking to people about games and about past experiences. And I don't need to have basically pieces of plastic
On a shelf.
A shelf. I mean, look, guys, like, it's not that I've fallen out of love per se, like in a black and white thing with retro gaming, but the memories I have of playing those games, that's the most important thing. And often replaying them, like, it doesn't rekindle the same love and affection and the sort of the memorable experiences that they did when I played them for the first time. So if I'm not playing them at all, what's the point in holding them? The thing that I'm holding on to is the memory of those experiences, what I did, the characters, the conversations, the locations, all this stuff in the game, like the epic finales to games, the conflict. That's what I hold on to. So unless I'm going to play these games, what's really the point in holding on to them? Now, I know there's a monetary value in video games, and some people will obviously think, well, if I hold on to this game for X amount of years, then it could, speculation, it could work, it could increase in value, and fine, yeah. I've got no problem with that at all. Like, people are completely happy to do that, then all power to them. But for me personally, and I'm just speaking personally, I'm not saying other people should do this at all, just like with Tom, I'm starting to sell off parts of my collection. Last year I sold off almost all of my Nintendo 64 collection. Great memories. I have fantastic memories of the Nintendo 64 and fantastic memories of some of the games. Like, we don't need to go over it. Everyone knows, like, the first time you played and completed Ocarina of Time, those memories stay with you.
Yeah.
But totally. I've replayed Ocarina most recently in the 3DS remake, and it was a very good time I had, but I wasn't playing the N64 version. The 3DS version was superior, and as I said, it didn't. No matter how many times I replay that now, it doesn't rekindle that first time experience.
I will say though, Rob, I must say here now and emphasise this, that I'm not selling any of my Dreamcast collection off at all. So
let's be clear. Yes, very clear.
Let's be very, very clear.
And I'm not either. Like, I don't think. Let's not get into extreme. Like, this isn't some crazy, sell off of everything. That's not what I'm saying. But I sold off my N64 collection last year because I wasn't playing it. A lot of those games don't hold up well anymore. I'm sorry, it was one of the first consoles in the transition to 3D, and it has aged really badly. And I don't want those amazing rose-tinted memories to be tainted effectively by replaying these things. And also,
maybe you should play ukulele then.
Well, yes, exactly. Like, if you want that experience, it's not as if you can't get it anywhere else. Ukulele delivers that. I've just started playing. I didn't mention this earlier, but I've started playing Snake Pass.
Oh yeah. I played that at Play Manchester.
We played it at Play Manchester, didn't we?
Great, yeah.
Amazing game, and it recaptures a lot of what made those rare games during the N64 period so magical. I'm saying you can get those experiences elsewhere. I wasn't playing the N64 games, so I sold them, and now I've started to do the same with other consoles. So anyway, long story short, I'm sort of supportive.
It's pretty long, Rob.
Pretty long, sorry. That's what I like to do. I'm fully supportive of Tom in what he's doing, because I think it's quite healthy for anyone to think like that as well. That if there's games on your shelf that, unless you're holding on to them for some sort of, financial value in terms of their ability to increase in value, then sell them and use that money to do something else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, once again, I'm not attacking anyone who likes to collect games. That's fine.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Cool. But
I would say, obviously, as the slightly obsessive collector of the trio here, I did the same as Tom. I sold off most of my stuff.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, I sold off probably 2,000 games.
2,000?
2,000 games. Like 75 consoles.
That's amazing.
Sold off all of them and decided I was focused just on Dreamcast. And the reason was because I was getting very little pleasure from having the games on other consoles and not really. I don't have the nostalgia with a lot of them. The games I have mostly nostalgia for are PC games, so it made no sense to me. I get more nostalgia from downloading games from GOG than I do from having an N64 version of Pod Racer. But so I sold it all off, and I decided just to focus on Dreamcast. So I've now got a very large Dreamcast collection, which is mostly Japanese games. But I have it for a reason. I genuinely do go through every single game, and I genuinely do. I cherish, but I genuinely do get some use out of them, which is just more than sit on the shelf. But at the same time, I am someone who I don't have an issue with people doing the collecting. I know neither of you two do either, but I think there is a lot of negativity with some people in the retro community where they'll go, "Oh, we shouldn't just have things on the shelves." You know what? It gives people pleasure to have things on the shelf.
Yeah,
totally. It gives people pleasure. Totally. It's happened through human existence. People have collected random things. I still know people who collect plates.
Yeah,
exactly.
Why would you collect plates? I don't understand the concept. But you go into people's houses and go, "Well, you're collecting plates. So use them. Put some food on them."
Or thimbles or something.
Gaming is a media form which the memories and nostalgia from gaming isn't just from putting the game in. For some people, it's the feel of it, it's the look of it.
Yeah.
It's an art form. Some of these game cases, especially Japanese ones,
Oh, yeah.
they're genuine art. And they cost very little. We're lucky with Dreamcast is that we have very, very few games on our console which are expensive.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything which is, thousands. We're not talking about sort of Neo Geo collecting.
The one thing that kind of annoyed me slightly was when I kind of told people that I was selling stuff off. It was like, "Oh, you'll regret it." I'm like, "Well, no, I'm an adult. I've made this decision to sell this stuff, and saying that is just going to annoy me, to be honest."
I haven't regretted selling my stuff at all. I haven't regretted it 1 minute because I've put the amount of money I got from selling my stuff off, which is several £1,000s.
Far outweighs probably what you paid for it. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, that's one thing. It outweighs it, but also what I've bought with it, I would never have. Things like I've got just random things, like I've got an original Star Wars blaster prop,
Cool.
which I would never have been able to get without having the money to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's still plastic on a shelf to some people. Hey, who cares? But it's if you want to sell it, if it's not giving you pleasure, sell it off. Ultimately, that's the ultimate thing. If it doesn't give you pleasure, get rid of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Mike's probably expressed it better than I was. I wasn't saying for shame if you're a collector, not at all. I'm saying exactly what Mike says. If you've got those games on your shelf and they're not giving you pleasure, then sell them and buy something that does.
And don't listen to those who. There are some who will go, shelf collectors, or people just have games on shelves. I understand that, and some people saying that. I respect their opinion on that, but ultimately, if you want to collect loads of plastics on your shelves, hey, you're not hurting anyone else.
Exactly.
There's a lot worse things you can do with life.
Cool.
Collect Nintendo games.
Oh, sorry, Rob. Go on.
The last point, sorry, because I know we've talked about this. My point is that the quantity of games that you own or have on your shelf that you can point to and say, "Look, I have this on the shelf." At the end of the day, that doesn't, that's not the end. It's not like I'm a massive. I can tell you that I'm a massive retro gamer because look, I have all these
like
games from all these. It's not like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have the physical things on your shelves to be able to talk about them.
Cool. Okay, gents. Well, we've spoken long enough about selling retro games and the collecting culture, shall we say. Let's move on to the next topic, and that is we're going to blow our own trumpet a little bit here. It's our rather spectacular April Fool's stunt that we pulled. With
Tom, you've got to take full credit for that because I was really impressed.
Did you actually think it was real at one point?
No, I didn't think it was real, but I liked the dedication to making it look real.
I think a lot of people did actually think it was real, and I think there was a lot, not a lot of hate, but there was a lot of comments that kind of said that, oh, we thought it was real. How dare you do this to us? And if you're not familiar and you don't know what I'm talking about, it was the Dream Stream prank that we pulled of April Fool's Day, and basically what this was a mock-up of a Nintendo Switch playing Dreamcast games, and it could be accessed through supposedly accessed through a new online service coming for the Switch, where you could stream games over the internet and play like HD remasters of things like Jet Set Radio and that old classic Spirit of Speed 1937. I did think, that I left enough clues in the article and the fake news article that I actually linked to, which I created as well, where the Sega spokesperson who was quoted as announcing this thing was called Avril Tonto, which actually translates as April Fool in French and Spanish. So quite how people didn't get the fact that it was actually just a wind-up, I don't know, but a lot of people, it seems, were taken in by it. So then people, I apologise, it was only meant to be a joke. However, I did see that it got picked up by the quite a large Nintendo Switch group on Facebook, which led to it actually kind of going viral as well, so that was quite good for us, but again, to those people who thought it was real, I apologise. What do you think?
I don't apologise.
You don't apologise?
Creating a joke.
I'm sorry, it's April Fool's Day. I think it's the one day where you don't have to apologise.
Exactly. If you believe anything on April Fool's Day, then frankly, you don't deserve to be on the internet.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to survive on the internet for longer than a couple of days if you can't work out that on April Fool's Day, nothing you believe.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the viability of such a thing? I have to be honest with you. I have looked at the analytics to the junkyard in the last week or so, and Nintendo Europe, Nintendo Japan, and Sega have been constantly looking at this article, and so I'm wondering if they're actually thinking that's a really good idea, and if so, do I get any royalties? I've actually put a trademark sign on the actual logo, so if anyone wants to buy the trademark for Dreamstream off me, Sega, Nintendo, if you're listening, hit me up,
But we're talking at least 45% royalties, right? From any future sales.
I'll just take a free Switch, to be honest, I don't mind.
But as long as they don't extend the Dream Stream, like having like Saturn Stream, because I can imagine them doing that, because that would eventually lead them to doing the Wii Stream, which wouldn't really. Yeah, you see,
nice.
There's a thing there, isn't there?
The Wii Stream, yeah.
It's getting R-rated.
Don't cross the streams, no.
Don't cross.
But yeah, do you think that's even a viable thing? Do you reckon they could even do it? Would that be possible? Yeah.
Of course. Like, this is what we've been saying on the Dream Pod for years now. We've been running this in enough time. All these projects, Dreamcast 2 and all the rest of the, demands for Sega to reboot a new Dreamcast. So, we want HD versions of all these original Dreamcast games. Well, look, this is how you could do it. We've said it before that the hardware already exists. Sega would be mad to try and get into the hardware business now, which is incredibly crammed full of established players. So the way to do it is to do these ports. You're looking at Switch, like, that's the real thing that's exciting me. Like, Zelda was amazing, and it looks like there's some good games coming down the pipe. Like, the new Mario looks amazing, and there's the new Fire Emblem, and there's the new Xenoblade, and all the rest. These look great. But what I'm really excited about is the ports of all these old classic titles.
Neo Geo stuff, or
well, exactly, the Neo Geo. I couldn't believe that a console released now. One of the launch games was Waku Waku 7. For Neo Geo, like, amazing. Some obscure parody fighter from the Neo Geo is one of the launch games on the Switch, but it's not actually that mad because this is exactly what that console can be used for. So Dreamstream isn't actually that far-fetched, and I think it's probably why a lot of people believed that it was true.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did actually think it was true. I mean, I saw a lot of people on Twitter going, "Oh, have you seen this?" and then retweeting it, and people going, "Wow." So yeah.
I think the best April Fool's jokes are, don't they? The best April Fool's jokes are the ones that people have a ounce of truth.
Yeah, there were. I would say there were a lot of good April Fool's jokes this year. I can't think of any really off the top of my head. Obviously, like people like Polygon and Kotaku and Nintendo Life did like these like roundups of the best April Fools. But yeah, there was some crackers this year, and hopefully people will remember ours as one of those as well. So yeah.
Went down a bit better than last year's. I remember it, Tom, because last year's didn't go down very well, did it?
Oh, the PlayStation 2 junkyard, which I removed after about an hour because so many people sort of. Yeah.
We have to. Based on the fact that if you're going to do any kind of April Fool's joke about Dreamcast, never mention the PS2.
No. Okay, we learnt our errors from last year, and we shall never speak of it again. No. Unless you listen to this podcast again, which we are doing infinitely because it's a recording. Anyway, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back after this interlude. Hello and welcome back to episode 49, Unplugged of the... Well, it's not actually unplugged, we're just like out, not sort of talking over the internet. We're all together in a little alleyway in Bristol. So yeah, welcome to DreamPod 49 in an alleyway in Bristol.
I don't recommend standing in an alleyway in Bristol.
No, if you couldn't hear that, Mike recommends you don't stand in an alleyway in not Novigrad, Bristol. We are talking about the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast has a new game. If you backed it on Kickstarter, then you'll probably already have it, unless you got the PAL version, which isn't actually out yet for reasons unknown to us. But if you actually applied for the US or the Japanese box art versions, you will already have in your hands Alice Dreams Tournament, which is a Bomberman homage for the Dreamcast. I played it extensively last night, and I think it's actually brilliant. I really like the music, I like the art style. It's got I don't really mention this very often, but it's got a really, really cool intro sequence and a really nice song that goes with it. It's kind of like a bit like an indie sleeper hit from the 90s, sounds like, anyway, to me at least. But yeah, I played it last night, not for ages, about an hour I'd say. And one thing that struck me about it was the fact that it's got so many different game modes, and some of them are quite inventive, use the VMU quite well. If you've been looking at the Kickstarter, you will know about the VMU usage or the implementation of the VMU. One mode is called Hide and Seek, where one of the players is invisible on the screen and you can only see them on your VMU, and I thought that was really ingenious. It took me a while. I didn't look at the manual before I started playing the game. I just kind of jumped into the game and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it was only after I actually went and read the manual that I discovered that one player is invisible on the screen but can only be seen on the VMU. And yeah, I think that it's fantastic, really. There is like the genuine kind of Bomberman modes, like where you have like multiplayer, just blow each other up with bombs. There's like let me see, I've got the manual actually here in my hand. We've got a colour battle where you have to like colour certain parts of the map in with your own team's paint. There's Assault, which is like a free for all, and I don't really know what else to say to be honest. It's a really cool Bomberman clone with lots of individual unique characters and great artwork. Really like the music. One thing I don't like is the voiceover on the actual like options menus and stuff, because every time you actually select something, I keep saying actually, it reads out what you're highlighting. So if you go to the options menu, it goes options, and if you go to the multiplayer mode, it goes multiplayer, and it's just really annoying. However, that said, what I do like is the online leaderboard. So if you play any of the modes in single player, you get this code when you get a high score, and you can go to the website, enter that code, and it shows you a leaderboard. So far, I think there's only like 37 people on it. I'm 2 of those people, and the developers are about 8 of those people.
And which position are you?
I'm actually, last time I looked, I was 26th. Oh, okay. So I'm the 26th best player
in the world.
In the world, yeah. And I'm not going to hide that fact. I'm the 26th best player at Alice Dreams Tournament. Actually,
are you going to go pro?
Potentially. However, what I will say is that when I played Millennium Racer, I was the best player in the world, because nobody else had completed the championship mode at the time I'd completed it at. So I was officially the best player in the world at Y2K Races, Millennium Racer. and no one's ever going to take that away from me.
That is an achievement. I still bask in my glory of being second on the world leaderboards of the Puyo Puyo game on Sega Superstars Tennis.
Well, what an accolade.
Silence I will take as being in awe.
There is another game coming out for the Dreamcast very soon. It's about 2 weeks at the time of recording, isn't it?
17th of April. 17th of April is coming out. Escape 2042, The Truth Defenders. It's another game by Orion, who's a French developer. He seems to go under the radar a little bit with Dreamcast releases. He's released 5 games now. He's released Alice Mum's Rescue.
And the Goddesses of Magic.
Yeah, Goddesses of Magic, Elanzia and Philia. The Orion Puzzle Collection. This is fifth game is the 5th one now.
Yeah.
And they're actually quite good. And he seems to be taking over the entire Dreamcast indie scene by releasing every single genre you could possibly imagine. But Escape 2042 looks really good. It looks very sort of old style 8-bit and proper 8-bit as well, not sort of where everyone says 8-bit about anything which is retro in any way now. 8-bit style, sort of elevator action, impossible mission sort of style.
It reminded me a little bit of a game that I used to play on the Amstrad called Roland in the Caves, I think it was called. Yeah. And with this little character called Roland, you had to like jump up on platforms and things. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like it reminds me quite a lot of Zillion for some reason on the Master System.
There's also like different like play modes in there. There's like a reverse. It's called a reverse shmup.
So I think from what I see from the video, it's you have to run away from ships firing at you.
Yeah,
which it sounds amazing. I think there's another 2-player game one as well, but it just looks really good. I encourage everyone to back him. The games aren't the world's best games. However, I've put more hours into Alice Mum's Rescue than probably any other game I've played in the last couple of years on Dreamcast. He's a very talented guy. He does it on his own. As far as I know, it's pretty much him on his own. Support him.
Cool. Yeah. There's also a one mode that I saw on the video is like an abseiling mode. Where you have to go down like rappelling. Rappelling down a chasm, as it were. But yeah, that's 2 new games coming on the horizon. There's plenty more, some of which we're not at liberty to speak about just yet. But rest assured, there's more to come. Much more.
Dreamcast lives.
Dreamcast lives indeed. Yeah. On the subject of new things, there's a new book coming out. And this is called the History of the Sega Dreamcast, and it's by our old friends at Pix and Love Editions. And yeah, this was announced this week. Well, we've known about it for quite some time actually. They've actually been putting it on their social media feeds for probably about the last 6 months now. Little snippets and hints at what's going to be in the book. Now we know because they put it up on their website and we reported on it on the Dreamcast Junkyard. But yeah, I think this looks really, really good. I've got one of their previous editions, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog history book, which is really, really cool, if I'm honest. And yeah, if anyone's going to do the Dreamcast history a really good service, it's going to be Pix and Love. They've got an official license from Sega. They've got unbridled access to the history of the Dreamcast. There's some stuff in that book I've never seen before. Some of the images they've released of the history and the prototype versions of the Dreamcast I've never even seen.
They've made quite a big play, haven't they, of the fact that they've got lots of never before seen pictures and information.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that they've also planned 2 special editions. One's a Sonic Adventure and one is a Shenmue themed edition, which have like a hardcover that you can pull the book out of. And I mean, because the website is currently just all in French, I believe they are bringing out an English language version. They are planning on doing like reviews or lists or something of every game for the Dreamcast. I again apologise for the sirens in the background. Police sounds. We are in Bristol, as I said earlier, and hopefully
it's a regular occurrence in Bristol. Unfortunately, the sound of sirens in the background on a sunny day is a normal occurrence.
Yeah, sirens and steam engines and other 18th century sound effects in the background.
You'll hear some pirates coming down soon.
Well, you're already here, Mike.
Well, cheers. Yeah, cheers.
But yeah, this book from Pix and Love, it does look like it's going to do the Dreamcast justice. And to be honest, I'm quite surprised that obviously we released our own book a couple of years ago, which was quickly banned and outlawed by Sega Europe. So if you've got one of those, hold on to it because it is now a collector's item. When I see one go on eBay for like hundreds of pounds, I know we've made it. We've made our impact. That said, I did see some bootleg Dreamcast Junkyard artwork, on Facebook this week. Did you see that?
I did.
Someone had made a mug with the Dreamcast Junkyard logo on it, and his own name as well for some reason. I have no idea what that's all about. But
Clearly, we're the mugs for not cashing in on the brand, right?
oh, Rob.
Where's
Wow.
the official Dreamcast Junkyard mugs?
I don't know. Probably on Redbubble or something. you know.
Mugs are a big thing at the current time. We seem to have a lot of. There's a large discussion on the group with regards to mugs, the Japanese style artwork on the mug, and my lovely PAL ones as well, which you can still get on Forbidden Planet. If anyone wants to go and grab themselves some if they live in the UK.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, on the subject, again, I'm the master of segues today. On the subject of merchandise, there is some new merchandise which is available now, or was available up until late yesterday, I believe, and that is a Shenmue bomber jacket that's come from Insert Coin. The story behind this one is quite interesting because there was previously a Shenmue bomber jacket from Insert Coin a couple of years ago, which was discontinued, and it was called the Hazuki jacket, and in my eyes is actually a superior product.
Was it a bomber jacket or was it a full leather jacket they released?
It looks like it was a leather effect, so like probably nylon or cheapo like leatherette jacket that looked a lot more like Ryo's jacket or Ryo's jacket in Shenmue, and it had, from what I can tell, like embroidered decals on it, you know. But this new one is nylon. It's a bomber jacket, and it's, in my opinion, the wrong colour. Just looks super cheap. It's £60, and that is not an insignificant amount of money for something which you probably pick up in Primark and put your own patches on. Guys, what do you think?
The colour's wrong. I think the best description I've seen of it so far is it's diarrhea colour, which really it is, and the colour's wrong, and it does look a bit cheap. However, and I will defend it before anyone else, because I know everyone else hates it. It's Shenmue, and I think it's not as bad as it could be, and I think if you are willing to spend £60 on a bomber jacket like that, then fair enough. I wouldn't, personally. Yeah. But I've seen worse merchandise stuff from other games.
Yeah.
I think we all wish Sega would just do things properly.
Yeah.
And just release things of a high quality. I've bought something from Insert Coin. I bought the Forklift Racing t-shirt, which is awesome. But it was £22. It's basically a white t-shirt with one symbol on. They could do it, and they could do it high class. But unfortunately, Sega have absolutely seemingly no interest in cashing in on their own fans, which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. Would it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike's hit the nail on the head, really. Like, I have no problem with people not cashing in. That sounds too negative, but yeah, effectively cashing in,
Capitalising.
We want them to
exploiting.
We want them to cash in on us to an extent. But
Exactly, fans do want that. They want the option to buy for companies to exploit a brand or to capitalise on a brand that lots of people love and deliver them extra products that surround the core product, which obviously in this regard is the game. But as Mike said, you want to do them properly, and this jacket is so far from what it should be. Look, when Suzuki was drumming up interest for Shenmue 3 on the Kickstarter, one of the top tiers, if not the top tier, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think there was 3 of them. You could get the Ryo Hazuki jacket, and the ones if you dropped like $5,000, $10,000, I forget, and that looked absolutely amazing. That looked really, really good. They'd gone and nailed it, and you'd bloody expect that for the amount of money that you were donating. Now, I'm not expecting. Look, £60, that's quite a lot of money, but it's not crazy money, right? But I think for the money you're putting down, you'd expect a better product, and fans want a better product. So the fact that this official product, to a degree, that has the blessing of the company involved, it looks so bad. And let's be clear here, it looks so bad on a really, really handsome guy, on a really fit model, and I of course look just as good as him, obviously. But I'm saying, if it doesn't look good on him, is not going to look good on anybody.
It looked terrible on me. It looked fucking awful.
No, come on, Mike. Don't be so down on yourself.
But yeah,
You're sporting that Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt with aplomb right now.
The texture looks wrong. The colour looks wrong. The decal looks like just slapped on. It's like what Mike was saying, that someone could just go and buy a jacket and slap the decal on.
there's a chance it could be really, really bad photographs, which I suppose, it's possible.
Have you ever heard of Occam's Razor, Mike?
Occam's Razor.
I'm going to say that maybe it's not a bad photograph.
I think the thing is that it's, as Rob said, we do want high quality products, and it's I don't know. There's a part of many of us, I think, which just think sometimes that Sega are just. I don't know if it's licensed to Sega or not. I've got to admit, it might be licensed.
I think it is licensed. Yeah.
From Sega. They do seem to, without being rude to them, because I'm sure it's a big company. I'm sure they've got issues going on in other areas, but they literally have one of the greatest back catalogues of licenses, and the amount of stuff they could do is huge. And when they do bring stuff out, it's so poor, or it's through a third party, like they do the First figures, amazing figures. Just stop doing Sonic all the time and give us some stuff which is, Skies of Arcadia or
Fighting Vipers 2. Fighting Vipers 2, Sega. That's what we want.
Fighting Vipers 2, which is I wouldn't want. So I hate the game, but it's
Psychic Force.
Psychic Force. It's not Sega, is it?
Oh yeah,
Force?
yes.
I'm afraid it's not actually Sega.
No, it's not.
They could do things like anything. It doesn't matter what it is particularly, but they seemed to, a few years ago, there seemed to be one point where they thought, I think everyone thought, when they released Sega Superstars Racing, wow, they finally started to use the license properly. They released Transformed again, did it really, really well, and since then we've had nothing. Yet again, nothing at all. And I just, I can't work out why they don't want to have our money.
Well, the Sega and not Mad Cats. What am I talking about? No. I'll probably edit this down actually because I've made a fuck up. Or maybe I won't. I'll leave it in. Right, the Insert Coin bomber jacket is available now, or it was at least at the time of recording.
It's sold out, actually.
Oh, sorry, no,
it's sold out.
So yeah, you missed your chance.
It's been bought by enough people who think it does look good, but it's sold out.
Yep. So what do we know? Ignore us. In fact, ignore the entire last segment of this podcast.
Yep.
Right. Okay. We're going to take a little break now, and we'll be back in a second with some questions from our lovely Facebook group. Hello, welcome back to episode 49 of the Dreamcast Junkyard Dream Pod. We're in Bristol, live, unplugged, and all the rest of it. We're talking about the Dreamcast in an alleyway, and we're going to just jump into some questions. Rob's drinking a can of Kronenberg 1664 that he found in a bin.
Woo!
But yeah, we're going to jump into some questions from our fantastic Facebook group. Okay, we're going to go around the, I was going to say around the table, but there isn't one, so just imagine a table in front of us, guys. First question. Or rather, some of them aren't questions, they're more just like suggestions of things to talk about. Eddie Bogard asks about, with the recent demise of Mad Catz, what do we think about some of the Dreamcast peripherals from Mad Catz? I've got a small anecdote. I think I might have mentioned this in the past. One of the third-party controllers I had for the Dreamcast when I originally had one back in 1999 was a Mad Catz controller. And it was the one that nobody wanted because it was massive, and we used to call it the dinner plate. I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but it was basically nobody wanted to use the dinner plate. So that was my memory of Mad Catz. Really, what do you think, Mike?
So I sell Mad Catz things, working in a retailer, and the amount of returns we had on Mad Catz products was so ridiculously high.
Really?
The quality build was awful. I do like some of the things they did, and they made some interesting designs and stuff, but I can't really be sad that they've gone. Sorry.
Okay, thanks to Eddie for that question. Let's move on to another one. I'm actually scrolling through my Facebook group feed as we record this. Kenneth Randazzo asked about the crappy Shenmue jacket, but we've already touched on that quite extensively in the last section. I'm just trying to look at some things that maybe we actually know about. So, Dreamcast 2 thoughts and speculation. Ben Manning, I'm not sure if you're trolling there, but that's not going to get spoken about. So do one. Talk about Dreamcast Japanese wrestling games. That's from Fabian Villalobos. I hope I say your name right, Fabian. There's some good wrestling games from Japan on the Dreamcast. The one that springs to mind for me is Giant Gram 2000, which is a fucking great game. What about you, Rob? Any favourites other than that? Fire Pro maybe, or?
No, literally, like I didn't even know about Fire Pro, to be honest. I'm not a massive wrestling game fan. The only one I know of is Giant Gram, and Tom, you know more than me, so you're probably better at talking about it.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, so I've Giant Gram 2, Giant Gram 3, Touken Restitution 4. I've mullered the Japanese language, I think, but I'm sure Ross will tell me off for that.
No, you actually do sound like you're from Tokyo, to be honest, when you pronounce that. Yeah.
Go excellent. That's a slurred Bristolian accent for you. And obviously Fire Pro. I was playing Fire Pro 2 nights ago. I love Fire Pro. I was trying to recreate the characters from the British wrestling scene.
Like Big Daddy, etc. Yeah.
No, from the modern one. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but a lot of my friends are, and a lot of them go to a lot of the events. We're going to WrestleMania actually last week, but I was trying to create. I can't remember his name now. Gordo, is it? The wrestler.
No idea.
It didn't work. I couldn't work out the options. They were in Japanese. I can't speak Japanese.
Cool.
Good game though. Good game.
Yeah. Okay. Callum Gray Turner asks, can you talk about the games you loved so much that made you skip school or work or college back in the day? I'm trying to think of any that I actually skipped work for.
I skipped Life for Shenmue for a week.
Skip Life, yeah, that's true. I think, to be honest, the only game I can think of that actually made that much of an impact on me that I wanted to stay at home and play it when I was, when it was contemporary, was Legend of Zelda on the N64, and that's obviously not a Dreamcast game.
Just picking up on that, I can't really talk about a game that I sort of skipped school or work for, but just picking up on what you said about Ocarina of Time on the N64, I can remember at the time the game was released in the UK before Christmas, and a fair few months, 2 or 3 months beforehand, and I can remember that we were both said that we were going to get it for Christmas, and then he basically broke his promise because I don't know if he bought it or he was bought it by a family member, but he basically started playing it in November, and I'd been bought the game, I knew, as a present because I'd sort of done a sort of a hint, nudge, nudge. I really fancy Ocarina of Time for Christmas, and so I was in a position where I knew that I'd got it. Someone had bought it for me, but I couldn't play it. And then for literally a month and a half, all I could, he just sort of started trolling me, essentially, not breaking his promise. So he'd started playing the game, and obviously Ocarina of Time, the first time you play it, is an absolutely astounding experience, specifically back then.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was playing it and he'd broke my promise, I was so pissed off with him, so gutted. And I can remember one time where he literally played it for, I don't know if he hadn't been at work, but he just played it a whole day, and he just constantly kept sending me messages cryptically about the game. I was just like, shut the hell up, shut the hell up, I don't want to know anything. Like, it was bad enough that you broke your promise, but now the fact that I have to, you're essentially trolling me for a month and a half. It was dark days.
Well, I'm sure we're all sharing your trauma there, Rob. Moving on, Barry Harmon, who is also known as Barry the Nomad when he writes for the Dreamcast Junkyard, which he's not done for ages. Hurry up, Barry, and write something new. He's also the proprietor of SegaBits.com, so go and check his website out. He asks, can you play Spin the Bottle?
We got a bottle of Magners, but I don't think we can finish yet.
No, I'm still finishing that, Mike. But if you really want to afterwards, I can spin that for you.
You know what?
Just me and you.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
Okay then, no worries. Harry Stewart Chalcraft asked, what about the death of light gun games in the home console market? See, this is quite an interesting subject because I think the Dreamcast was probably the last console before the onslaught of LCD TVs.
I agree.
And so it was obviously a fertile ground for light gun games. I mean, we only got 2 in the UK, which were House of the Dead 2 and Confidential Mission. In the US, there were several more, like Death Crimson, OX, and a couple more, like Virtua Cop was released.
Cop was
in Japan. It was actually released a standalone as well in Japan. So there were quite a few Dreamcast light gun games. But yeah, what about after that? Didn't the Xbox have quite? Wait a minute. On the Wii,
Scope with the Xbox has Silent Scope.
Yeah, it had,
Sniper Rifle.
Yeah, you're right, and it also had House of the Dead 3.
Yeah, good game.
But yeah, nowadays there seems to be a death of them.
Wii had quite
What was on the Wii? Well, did you actually use the Wii remote for this, or was there a gun?
Yeah, it was Wii remote, but you could slot the Wii mote, as it's known, in some circles.
Yeah, so it was the
into like a
House
hand.
of the Dead Overkill.
House of the Dead Overkill, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They also released lots of other ones. They released LA Guns. Is it Machine Blade or something? House of Dead. They released House of Dead 2, didn't they? On Wii. The Wii was really good for it.
What was that one? Was it called something Squad? Was it Ghost Squad or
Ghost
something?
Squad
like
was
that? Yeah. That was the Wii, wasn't it?
Machine Blade from I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I mean, I know for a fact that with the PSVR, there's a lot of, would you call them light gun games? I mean, you can wave the Move controllers around and use them as guns, and see it in the headset.
You can.
I guess they are.
Is that the evolution of the light gun game? Would you say?
I don't think it's a long-term evolution. What would you say?
I think it's a different concept. I got a PSVR, and I've also played on the Vive quite a lot as well. And I can see where it's, you can stand still and get over the motion sickness, stand still and sort of shoot. But I think it's a much more engrossing experience. I'm a big fan of VR, though. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of VR. So.
I think you're right. Like the Dreamcast and PS2, obviously, is kind of the same time, and I think that age of the home consoles taking what the arcades had done with the light gun shooters and bringing them into the home, they were the last consoles that really did that. And then I think console gaming shifted in terms of the experiences people wanted to play, and I think those sort of repetitive, short form arcade experiences died off, and I think they're coming back a bit now. But the problem is obviously that there's not really the technology in any of the major players. I mean, the technology's there, but with the new form of televisions that we've got, we're not seeing the games coming out. It's as if the genre sort of died, and while I think there is the demand for it, like just a tangent off, I mean, on T3.com, which is the site I work for, we have our man in Japan, Marco, who reported just last year on the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, I think is the name, new light gun shooter which they brought out in Japan, and that was in that was in the arcade, and it's essentially an on-the-rail shooter as you expect, massive guns, and you're shooting the enemies, and it's Transformers themed. But within that, you were in like this gyroscopic ball, which you can, and the ball rotates round
360 degrees.
360 degrees. If type in R360 or Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, T3.com, again, horrible plug, and you'll see the video, because we've got video footage of it in operation, and it looks absolutely amazing, and it's an incredibly popular game. Like, it's been incredibly well received, and I think people still want to play arcade shooters. Like just the other year when we went to play Expo, we went in the Namco arcade bar.
Oh yeah.
And we played an Aliens themed
great,
shooter,
wasn't it? Yeah.
and it was great fun. But those experiences still aren't being taken home. They're not sort of making that leap from the arcades to the home, and I'm not sure why. I think the appetite is there, but I don't think anyone's willing to take the financial risk.
And who can forget the light gun game without a light gun, Knife Edge, on the N64? Did you guys play that?
I didn't play it, I'm afraid.
No, it was. It's kind of. It's a bad game. I'm going to say that first and foremost. But releasing a light gun game for a console that didn't have a light gun released for it.
We had one, didn't we? On Dreamcast. Silent Scope.
Of course, yeah.
Wasn't light gun compatible.
Oh, and don't forget Demolition Racer with the little hidden light gun game. That's quite good fun, actually.
I think one thing I would say about it all is that I do like light gun games. I like them in the arcades, but is it bad that they're not sort of like big AAA titles now on the main consoles? Like when House of Dead 2 came out, it was a big release and people loved it.
Oh yeah, it was a flagship game, wasn't it?
Flagship game. Would that work nowadays? Do we want to go back to a time where that amount of gaming is? I know. I like my stories epic.
Well, that's it. I think that's the shift. That's the shift I was talking about. People now look. In most reviews that I read today, the hour count is a major factor in the score. How many hours did I played, I don't know, The Witcher 3, and I put in over 80 hours. Now, obviously, if I spend 50 quid on The Witcher, I'm going to get 80 hours of entertainment. I spend 50 quid on Virtua Cop 19, I'm not going to get...
Virtua Cop 17 is where you wanted to go.
17, sorry. I'm not going to get 80 hours of entertainment, am I?
No.
Now, but I want to be very clear here, quantity is not the be-all and end-all. No. I will take... Some of my favourite games are very streamlined, short experiences. Yeah. I'm more... Like, that's what I was complaining about earlier with Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm sure there's over 100 hours worth of content in there. Yeah. But the rest of the game, the writing specifically, isn't up to scratch enough for me want to spend that time with it.
The problem is that you can get those short experiences on the iPhone now for 99p. And that's the thing. It's as a main console game, is it really that much? I don't think it's that much of a loss. I think Dreamcast is the last console which had an arcade focus. It's that weird juxtaposition on Dreamcast with the fact that we had pretty much the top tier of arcade games, and also Shenmue, which I think is probably the turning point in console gaming, from console gaming being quite badly written dialogue, quite badly written stories, and not very epic, to being Shenmue, which was obviously
all of those things.
Yeah,
well, apart from the writing of dialogue, possibly. But
Sega have always had a massive... I mean, Sega Amusements International still exists today, and they've just put out the new Daytona, for example, in the arcades, but I think Mike's right in the fact that the general appetite... Well, I think there is appetite for gun games. I think the consciousness has shifted now, where people demand more bang for their buck, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we've covered that one quite extensively. I'll take two more questions from the Facebook group. The first one is, can you talk about the various extremely expensive Dreamcast consoles from Japan? I think there's quite a few in there that are really kind of... There's the Gundam one, which is the blue one with the...
Is that one that's 5 made of, or the 50 of that one?
I don't exactly know how many there were, but there's not many. There's the Stars one, the red one. Yeah.
There's the Stars one. How many of the Sakura Wars one was there?
Is that the pink one with the...
That's the one with the with the many faces.
Quite a few of those. I think there's quite a few of those. Yeah.
You pick them up quite cheap. But they had the 2 Resident Evil ones. You had the Stars one, which was black.
Yeah.
And you had the
Jill one.
Claire Redfield one.
Sorry,
Jill Redfield. Yeah. Claire Redfield. Claire? Jill. I know. I don't play Resident Evil that much. They had the Redfield one, which was red. They're quite rare. You've got the Hello Kitty ones.
Isn't there the Mazora one or Mazoira one? Is it the purpley? Yeah, the purpley like two-tone thing. Yeah.
I'm not a big. I don't collect the consoles.
No.
I know there are some people. I think I mentioned him before, but there's a guy online I think his name's BL, and he's got like a full set, I think, of consoles. It looks amazing, and that, if you are a serious collector, that is something to go into, because that will only go up in price, I think.
Yeah. Don't forget the fabled Electronics Boutique blue one that doesn't actually exist. There's also the Partners one with that was signed by the president of Sega. I think there's only one of those, because wasn't that the prize for the Mr. Yukawa treasure hunt or something?
Possibly, yeah.
There was like the one version of that was for sale or was up for grabs. There's so many random.
There's a Seaman.
The Seaman. There's the Christmas Seaman one, the red one.
And there's the green one as well.
And the green one, yeah. There's also the. Oh shit! What was I going to say? Apparently there's a gold one. Yeah. There's one that was gold.
Was that Paola, wasn't it? I think there was a lot of airbrushed ones, wasn't there? Lots of I think the official Dreamcast magazines in Britain, Germany, and France, possibly Spain as well, had them airbrushed.
Yeah, with different games. They were competition prizes.
One was gold. Was Simply the Best written on it, I think.
I think we're talking about two different ones, because the one I'm thinking of is the one that was apparently it was a gold edition that was given to the executives from Sega Japan when the Dreamcast went bust or something.
Oh,
apparently there's very few of those. But again, this is all conjecture. I'm not sure if these even exist. This is what I've seen on things like Sega Retro and on forums. Do you know what I mean? So I don't even know if these exist. But there are several very, very uncommon types of Dreamcast.
It's hardcore collecting though. There's some hardcore. The money for them is huge.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Mike. I think the most common one that I would class as quite a rare one, but also within the realms of like the average collector, would be the R7.
Yeah.
Definitely, especially if you've got like a boxed one, because they are quite uncommon. I think the original ones came with a broadband adapter, and the later ones that were released for general consumption had the standard modem on them. I might be wrong. If I am wrong, please let me know, or don't. And so thanks for that question. That was from Patrick Trainer. And okay, we'll take one last question, and that is Brenton Chevin, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He asked, can you post a link when you're done with the podcast? And to that question, I say no. This is going into my private collection, and nobody will ever hear this. So there you go. Okay,
yes, we do this quite often. We do like little private podcasts for ourselves. I mean, like, what a silly question.
No, but thanks everyone for your questions on the group. If you're not a member of the group, it's facebook.com/groups/Dreamcast Junkyard. Please go and join, and we're all on there, and it's quite a good community. We have lots of arguments and fights and general discussions. It's good. It's cool. Anyway, I think we've waffled on for long enough here in the sunshine in sunny Bristol.
That's one thing to mention.
One thing to mention, Mike. Sorry,
which is on the group, on the Facebook group. Kev Mason is doing a high score group, basically, or a competition, where every single week he'll put a different game on there and get a high score. I have to admit, I started the last one and then sort of forgot that it was on there, because I only look at my phone on the website on my phone. I always forgot that it actually was there. But he's going to start a new one up quite soon. If everyone who wants to have a go, I encourage you to do it. It gives a little bit of competition. And War Gamers would like to see who's got the highest score.
But yeah, that's episode 49 of the Dream Pod. We hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble as we sit in this alleyway in Bristol once again.
Yeah,
massive,
it's been good, right?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, massive thanks to everybody who listens and downloads, and also thanks to everybody who submitted a question through our Facebook group. Also, massive thanks to everybody who supports us with a $1 or more Patreon submission. Or is that what you call it? Submission?
Yeah, I think so.
Pledge every month. Yeah. It's been fun, gentlemen. And this is where we bring this one to an end, because we're going to go and have a beer in the pub now. So thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.